Today on episode 118, we are talking about audience types and how to strategically think about these audience types when you're producing content for your marketing. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 118 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I so appreciate you doing that. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do love that you make my podcast one of them. I'm Jen. I'm the host. If you're a first-time listener, then super welcome. If you're a return listener, then super welcome back to you. So glad to have you here. I am a marketing thought leader, digital strategist, and coach for small businesses, and basically just an all-round small business lover. I have one goal for you in mind, and that is to help you make marketing a priority in your business, because I know that if you want to grow your business, then you do need to learn how to market yourself better. It sounds simple. I know it's not easy, but it's definitely simple, or the idea of this podcast is to make it simpler. Just before we head into this week's episode, though, I just really wanted to quickly tell you about my Women in Business retreat that I'm hosting on the 21st of May at Airtree Resort in Yarrawonga. It's a weekend for women in business to refocus, get inspired, relax, connect with other amazing small business owners, and of course, to grow your business. There's only 12 spots available, which is basically the whole resort, and 6 of them have already been taken. So if coming away with 12 other amazing small business owners and women in business for a weekend of learning and some fun sounds like something you'd like to do, then I'd love for you to head to my website and check out all the information and register your interest there. You can find the website at bit.ly, so bit.ly/WIB retreat. WIB, of course, meaning women in business. So bit.ly/WIB retreat. Of course, you can find that link in the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/118. Or of course, you can just send me a message and I can just answer your questions there. Anyway, on to this week's episode. This week, I wanted to talk to you about audiences. So on this podcast, I know I've spoken a lot about audiences, and if you follow any other marketers online, you'll often hear us talking about your ideal client or your ideal audience. Sometimes we call them ideal clients, ideal customers, ideal avatars, ICA. I often talk about who is your who, whatever you want to call it. It's like that one persona, that one person you are marketing to that represents your best and hopefully your best paying client or customer. But one thing that not many business coaches or mentors talk about are the 3 audience types that your ideal client or your ideal audience sits in order for you to produce content for them. So these 3 audience types are cold audiences, warm audiences, and hot audiences. So what are they, you might be thinking? Come on, Jen, tell me a little bit more about these audiences. Okay, so let's have a look. Cold audience types. Now, these are people who still might be your ideal client or your ideal customer, but they just haven't met you yet. A person falls into this cold audience type if they've never heard of you, never heard of your brand, and have never interacted with your amazing content. They are your ideal buyer if only you could get yourself in front of them and have them notice you. Think of that boy or that girl you had a crush on at high school who didn't even know you were alive. He or she is basically your cold audience. So how do you get in front of a cold audience? Well, there's lots of ways to get in front of cold audiences. But when we talk about wanting more engagement on our social media and more opens on our emails, etc., then, well, not so much emails, more social media, because that's where most of our cold audiences find us, then this is the stuff we're talking about. Because if we can get more people to share our posts, interact with our posts, comment and like on it and like our stuff, then we've got more more chance of getting in front of a cold audience. Because the more people we can get to share our posts, the more chance we've got to get in front of their audience. And of course, their audience might have a few people that are our ideal audience. So it's that perfect opportunity for other people to see your stuff for the first time. And so basically it's like, thank you, sharer, and thank you, algorithm, as well. Other ways of getting in front of cold traffic audiences might include the strategic use of hashtags, for instance. Like your cold audience ideal client might be using those types of hashtags to search and you'll come up. Or maybe they follow it if we're talking on Instagram. Of course, there's paid digital marketing and Google searches and having your Google My Business up to date and strategically marketing and maybe being a guest on a podcast or guest blogging, using Facebook groups to give like tips and tricks and great value. And of course, then there's networking. The list just keeps going on. But you get the picture. There are lots of ways to get in front of people who have never heard of you before. And as long as we do this strategically, then the benefits could actually be quite massive for our business. Of course, the second audience type was warm audiences. Now, these people do know who you are. And again, we want these people to be our ideal client, not just anybody. We want them to be our ideal client who actually knows who we are. And these people possibly follow you on social. They might even be on your email list. They've interacted with some content of yours, and perhaps they've even reached out and had a discovery call with you, or maybe even asked you a question via a DM or an email or something similar. They know you, they like you, but they haven't actually trusted you enough to part with their cold, hard cash yet, which of course is the name of the business game, isn't it? We want people to pay us for whatever it is we provide, the service or the goods that we sell. And of course, the last audience are the hot people, the hot ideal client people. These people are your buyers. They have paid you cold hard cash for your goods or your services. Maybe they've only paid you $7 or maybe they've paid you $7,000. It doesn't matter. They have still paid you. They are the next level. They are part of your hot audience. They know you, they like you, and they trust you. These are our greatest assets in business because these people, because they know, like, and trust us, are the most likely to share our content with their audience or their family or their friends on social media. They're most likely to open every email that we send. They're most likely to give you constructive feedback and comment perhaps in your Facebook groups if you have one. They're most likely to refer more business to you. And they are, of course, most likely to be our biggest fans and to buy from us again. If you think of marketing as a journey, as like lead to list to sale to convert, or the anchor rule, you think of marketing in faculties of we attract people, then we nurture people, and we convert people, and then we ascend of people. The hot audience sits at that top of that rung. They are the people we have ascended and the people we have converted, and they basically make up maybe 20% of the people that actually make up 80% of our income. And in business, we want more of these people. So what's my point? What's my point of talking to you today about cold, warm, and hot audiences? Okay, well, I want you to look at your content, specifically your content strategy. We've talked a lot about content strategy this month, and this is what I want you to look at. We need to be producing content that will appease all three of these audiences. It's the part of the marketing strategy that I talk a lot about to my private clients. We can't have all our social content focused towards the people who are cold. And we can't be constantly telling our audience who we are and what we do and how we do it. The hot audience people would get so sick of this and would leave pretty quickly and would no longer be our fans. And vice versa, we just can't be always asking for the sale if we don't have the content behind us that actually sets us up as the expert and lets our audience get to know us or you, that whole human-to-human marketing part of your brand. So now we've chatted a little about these audience types. I want you to do an audit on your content from maybe the last week or even the last month or even the last 4 months of this year. I want you to have a look at each piece of your marketing, whether it be social content, email content, radio content, TV content, whatever it is that you do in your marketing strategy. I want you to have a look at it and think, who is it focused at? Who is the audience that it's targeted at, and how far along the buying cycle is the person that we're actually targeting with this? I want you to make a list and I want you to see what you come up with, because if we're looking at scales, if you are one way or the other, if you are constantly servicing your cold audience, then by the time you warm them up, they've lost interest in you, and vice versa. If you are constantly talking to an audience who knows everything about you and selling, then the new people who come in haven't got enough information to ascend themselves into a fan. Basically, the common mistakes that I see is that maybe you never sell. Maybe you just assume that your audience knows what they can buy from you. Perhaps the hot ones do, but maybe the ones who have just discovered you don't actually know how to buy from you. Other mistakes that I see is you never introduce yourself or never reintroduce yourself. You're just assuming that people who follow you know who you are. And I'm pretty sure that you're interesting enough to show up for your audience in a little get to know you post or live or email at least once a month or maybe even once a quarter. Another common mistake is that you aren't providing value to your audience. You aren't setting yourself up as the expert in whatever it is that you do. Or maybe even your content is the same. It's the same thing, different day, and which doesn't serve your hot audiences very well. We want to convert those hot audience humans, into super fans because of the reasons that I talked about before, that they are most likely to refer business to you and buy from you again, and they basically make up 80% of probably the entire turnover or profit that we actually have. So here's some tips on how you can serve all your audience types a little bit better. My first tip is to engage with your new followers, your new likers, and your new connections. Send them a little message, a voice message or a video. Show up for them on a one-to-one basis. It's really easy to do, especially on Instagram and LinkedIn. It's not so easy on Facebook though, which is such a pity because it's such a great strategy to do on the other two platforms. But make sure you are showing up for your new people, welcoming them into your world. The second tip is to give some special love to your hot audience. Send them a private message or even a private email. Just check in with them. Say, hey, how you going? Think about something that you know about them and ask about that. Show that you actually care for these people and you do actually know them as well. Of course, if these people had a really good outcome from working with you or buying from you, then they're more likely to refer someone else to you. And of course, they're more likely to buy from you again. And if you're in retail, we see this quite often where they have VIP clubs where people who are loyal customers actually get special discounts or get first look at new ranges, etc., etc. These are the people that are kind of like our royalty. Again, if they are going to make up 80% of our income, then they need to be treated quite specially. Quite specially, not quite sure if that's the right words. That's good English or not. Apologies for that. The third tip that I wanted to give you is start looking at your marketing strategy with these 3 audience types in mind. The warm and the hot audiences are the easiest to convert into sales. I get that, but don't forget about the newbies. What do they need to know, like, and trust you as well? Because that is what we want. We always want to be filling our funnel with more people who want to buy from us. So I hope this has helped you a little bit to start thinking about your marketing strategy and your ideal client a little bit more strategically. I don't expect you to go and change everything or feel overwhelmed that maybe you have to work through your strategy all over again, but I just want you to keep this front of mind. When you're doing your marketing, think about these audience types and think, who am I serving, and making sure that you aren't skewing your marketing one way or the other. Too much talking to cold people, too much talking to the hot people. And I think if you start to put this front and center in your mind, you will actually see it make sense more in your marketing. And hopefully that means that conversions aka sales, will actually come quicker and easier for you, which is the name of the business game again, isn't it? Anyway, that's it for 118. I will be back next week for 119, and I look forward to chatting with you again. I hope you have a fabulous week, whoever or whatever it might bring you. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and maybe share this episode with another superstar business owner who would really love to dig a little bit deeper into their audience types and get their marketing strategy a little bit more strategic as well. If you've got time to leave a rating and a review, then that would warm my heart, of course. But of course, I will see you next week. Hopefully we're connected on social. If not, let's hang out on Instagram or in my Facebook group called Like-Minded Business Owners. I'd love to see you over there. But whatever you do, my small business peeps, remember, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
Like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.